Soros DA.
A Soros prosecutor.
This prosecutor, Alan Bragg, is from George Soros' side.
Listening to his master, George Soros.
George Soros. Mr. Soros.
Alvin Bragg, in particular, is the most radical DA you can ultimately get to. George Soros funded him over $1 million.
I'm going to expose Soros, and I'm going to wade into this and show, again, what this monster has done.
He thinks that you should be decent to one another, and he donates to progressive causes because he thinks we shouldn't rip each other to shreds, and that everybody should have equal rights.
Soros prosecutors refuse to enforce the law against protected groups. That is their signature quality. That's the heart of their ideology. The result of this has been a lot of posturing, but even more murder victims. A lot of people have died.
The most rigorous academic study analyzing data across 35 jurisdictions shows no connection between the election of reform-minded prosecutors and local crime rates. Murder rates have been rising fastest in some Republican states led by tough-on-crime politicians.
I hate to do it, and I realize there's no sense in it. But I want to talk about George Soros.
Large-bodied predators are swimming here in the waters. This is the trans-border empire of George Soros, with tons of money and international heavy artillery.
The current Hungarian government attempt to intimidate and discredit civil society is totally unacceptable.
One of the criticisms that a lot of Republicans have is that George Soros is too influential with his money.
If he re-elects President Bush, and we shall be at war for a long time to come.
Some type of manufactured circus by some Soros DA.
A Soros prosecutor.
This prosecutor, Alan Bragg, is from George Soros' side.
Listening to his master, George Soros.
George Soros. Mr. Soros.
Alvin Bragg, in particular, is the most radical DA you can ultimately get to. George Soros funded him over $1 million.
Actually, George Soros did not give Alvin Bragg $1 million, and we'll get to that in a moment. But that's not really the point of these attacks anyway. George Soros is a Hungarian-American billionaire known for supporting progressive causes like criminal justice reform, but he's also a Jewish Holocaust survivor. So for right-wing politicians around the world, not just in America, throwing Soros out there as a catch-all attack on anything liberals do has become a convenient and common anti-Semitic dog whistle. It's the latest version of a centuries-old trope that rich and powerful Jews are working behind the scenes to shape global events. Viktor Orban's far-right government in Hungary has attacked Soros for years. Here in the US, the billionaire has been blamed by Republicans, by Fox, by Trump, for everything from the migrant caravan to Black Lives Matter demonstrations. Anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that have led to real-world violence. When a Trump supporter and Fox fan sent pipe bombs to high-profile Democrats in 2018, he included George Soros.
You know, at the height of his power, he had about $6 billion. I don't know what Republicans think $6 billion can buy. Or should I say, what Republicans want us to think that $6 billion can buy, because Republicans damn sure know.
The Trump administration a danger to the world.
The use of money and the influence it may have had on the Brexit result or the Trump election has reached a level of virtual hysteria.
Billionaire George Soros donated nearly £500,000 to a campaign group which is seeking to halt Brexit.
Mr. Soros is no friend of Britain. He once made $1.5 billion betting against the pound.
George Soros has pledged a whopping $10 million to fight hate crimes in the United States.
Republicans, of course, say their attacks on Soros have nothing to do with anti-Semitism. They're just following the money. And it is true that Soros donates to progressive DAs and criminal justice reform efforts nationwide. But guess what? Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is not a Soros DA or a Soros-backed DA. Not by any stretch. The only thing linking Soros and Bragg is a PAC called Color of Change, which got $1 million from Soros during Bragg's primary campaign in 2021. The PAC endorsed Bragg and spent money urging voters to back him, but they never donated to Bragg directly. And that $1 million represents, by the way, less than a third of the money that the Bragg campaign itself raised. To be clear, money never flowed from Color of Change to Alvin Bragg, let alone from Soros to Bragg. In fact, Soros didn't give the money to Color of Change and say, spend it on Bragg, who, by the way, was touting his record of going after Trump well before Color of Change pledged to spend any money promoting his campaign. And Soros says he's never had any contact with the DA. We asked him, quote, George Soros and Alvin Bragg have never met in person or spoken by telephone, email, Zoom, etc. There has been no contact between the two. Neither George Soros nor his Democracy PAC contributed to Alvin Bragg's campaign for Manhattan District Attorney.
But I constantly hear it. You know, my favorite Russian troll sends me messages all the time. What about George Soros? Everybody knows he funded this and he finances that. Everybody knows that George Soros ordered that. Everybody knows that George Soros is in the cabal. George Soros.
I have dedicated my foundations and my life to promoting open society.
George Soros recently gave Open Society, his organization, $18 billion.
Leaked documents from George Soros's Open Society foundations show persistent efforts by the organization to influence the political process in Europe.
So a lot of conservatives will attack their opponents by saying that they're funded by George Soros.
The more we learn about Soros, the more I think people become very suspicious of what he's doing.
And some people have the gall to call him a fascist or a terrorist. It is disgusting. Get your facts straight.
I stand up for the principles I believe in, and I don't allow to personalize these attacks. I stick to my principles, and I think we shall prevail.
The link between George Soros and an Alvin Bragg prosecution of Trump just isn't there. And to call Bragg a Soros DA or a Soros-backed animal, as Donald Trump did on Thursday, is just an offensive lie. An offensive anti-Semitic lie. But you know what? Sure. Let's imagine for a moment that Soros had publicly called for Trump to be prosecuted over the Stormy Daniels hush money payments. Let's imagine that he had donated to DA Alvin Bragg directly. Aren't Republicans supposed to be totally fine with billionaires spending on election campaigns, with money being protected speech? So what issue, what problem, what objection could they possibly have to this Jewish billionaire Holocaust survivor?
I get the messages all the time. And I usually, respond with something, so insulting that they immediately erase their comment and, so no one can see mine. It's a shame. Because I'm so sick of it. My God. You people talk about power. That, only Trump can fix it. You talk about how, the Democrats are going to bring us down, but by God, we've got some guys that can take care of everything. But apparently, y'all are getting your ass kicked all over the planet because, he runs all elections.
He is known as a major Democratic political donor and one of the foremost philanthropists focusing on democracy, with lifetime giving that tops $16.8 billion. Born in Budapest, Hungary in 1930, Soros survived the country's Nazi occupation and emigrated to the United States, where he began his career in finance. In 2020, Soros gifted his birthplace over $1 million to help prepare for the coronavirus pandemic, as part of a $130 million commitment for COVID-19 aid worldwide. With his personal experiences influencing his philanthropy, Soros established Open Society foundations over 40 years ago to promote democracy and human rights around the globe. With an annual giving of $1.2 billion in 2020,
by a 92-year-old billionaire, he has given away most of his money. I think he's down to $1 billion, a little more than that, I think. Giving away $5 billion. $5 billion! You know how long the UN takes to spend $5 billion? For youth who don't know, I'm talking about that big building in New York with all the flags. That's 5 days. $1 billion a day.
Foundation's causes range from economic equality and justice reform to anti-discrimination. Amid the protests for racial equality last year, the foundation committed $220 million to support leaders in black communities across the United States. In January, Soros pledged $1 billion to take on the spread of nationalism through a new university network for teaching and research. Claiming this was, quote, the most important project of his life, Soros hopes to build on the Open Society Foundation's work.
$5 billion is nothing. Hell, y'all tell me all the time, Joe Biden destroyed the dollar. A dollar's not worth anything now. A dollar's worth pennies. So what the fuck do you think $5 billion is worth? Because that's how much he's given away.
To unravel this mystery. So here, Kenneth, thanks so much for coming in. So here, George Soros does not live in Austin, Texas. Don't think he ever has. He's not actually from this country originally. Why would he want Austin, Texas to have fewer police officers on the street?
That's a very good question. And first and foremost, I'm so tired of the left pretending like we've picked George Soros to be our boogeyman. Like, oh, he's not a bad guy, but there goes the right talking about George Soros. Every time this man spends money, it is towards an effort that is going to undo American civilization. Notoriously, obviously, he defunded Black Lives Matter, all the rioting, all the protests, the Open Foundation Society, which is his foundation, gave money to all of these causes. And you ask yourself, why? He's a billionaire. If he wanted to help people or help black people, he doesn't need to give it to Black Lives Matter. He can give it to tons of other causes that actually do work to help black people and don't destroy their communities.
The fuck do y'all think he does? Runs the whole world. My God, Republicans are lying to you. I don't know how many times I can say it.
I don't know. Maybe he's going long on China. Why would he benefit from an America that doesn't really exist? I've also said this to you many times in the past, Tucker, and I want to say it again. I think what the left is after more than anything is the federalization of the police force. I've been saying this over and over again. Look at the American story right now. It is the exact same story of every country that has converted from a capitalist, thriving society into a socialist society. They need to federalize the police force to make sure that the federal government has the most control. It's the only thing that makes sense. Again, the question, why does George Soros want to see that?
They have no excuse for the evilness that they pretend to be the opposite of. They have to blame someone. And who better than a 90-year-old Jew?
Why does George Soros want to see the collapse of America? Well, he has to be invested in a country that isn't America.
I think that's a really good hypothesis. I think also there is hate at the core of this. I mean, why would you systematically go to cities you've never lived in and make them more dangerous? You know that's going to result in more murders. Everyone, I mean, it's not complicated, but you do it anyway. You clearly are angry at the country.
Yeah, or you're just a person that wants to make money. I really do believe that money is the root of all evil, and I think that George Soros is a person that cares passionately about money. I think he cares about becoming successful. I don't think hate is enough to drive George Soros. Of course, at the core of this is always hate, right? You have to hate America. You have to hate American society, or at least not care for it very much.
Now, at the same time, Republicans profess to support Israel because, by God, the Bible tells them so. First of all, Republicans in Washington have never read the Bible. They literally don't know what that is, except for the talking points they've been given. Donald Trump has no relationship with the Lord whatsoever, but we'll get past that for a moment. The Republicans do not support Israel. Republicans support Likud. That's it. Any other person ever takes over in Israel, and Republicans hate him. Any other person takes over in Israel, and Republicans accuse him of being traitors to their race.
And I think any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty.
Because Republicans believe there's a such thing as a traitor to their race. What does that tell you about Republicans?
He funds corrosion. It's like he wants these cities to fall apart. He wants crime to flourish. It's almost like he's an evil person in a Batman movie.
And if you are a Republican and you're still watching this, I'm stunned. I give you credit. I assure you, I'm not lying. This is reality.
Tweeted this thing about George Soros.
You basically.
It reminds me of Magneto. This is like, calm down, people. This is not like made a federal case out of it.
You also, you said he wants to erode the very fabric of civilization, and Soros hates humanity. Like, when you do something like that, do you
I think that's true. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know what to say, but y'all need to get past the George Soros thing.
Care about, not freedom of speech. Who cares about the Bill of Rights? We have to pay the bills. George Soros bought the crime wave. It's true. He financed all of these radical DAs that are one of the key ingredients to the crime wave. Now, we don't know why Soros did that. Only Soros knows why he buys crime. And they call you an anti-Semite. And you know who's behind that? Soros is. Check this out. Washington Post says, quote, anti-Semitic tweets soared on Twitter after Musk took over. Study finds. And who funded that study? Soros.
I'll make y'all a deal, okay? We will totally get past the Trump thing if y'all can get past the George Soros thing. Can we make that deal?
Track they've been, or if they're going to do something new. One thing he said, actually two things he said that I think are really interesting to Wall Street Journal. He said he believes free speech on campus has become too restricted. I think we'd agree with that. And he also said our side has to be better about being more patriotic and inclusive. Just because someone votes Trump doesn't mean they're lost or racist.
But you got to actually do it. Can we make that deal? Fortunately for me, that deal's going to be made in the court. Because Donald Trump's going down, boys. He'll never walk into the White House again. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. Y'all take it easy. And I will say this. If you are still here on this video, you might want to check out my members only. Because apparently I can do that now. And there's going to be all kinds of members-only content on there, and there's going to be stuff that, you only see behind the scenes, whatnot. Kind of like this video here where I'm sweating profusely. But check it out. It might be worth your time. It might not be. I understand. But I assure you, for everybody else, nothing will change on my channel. I'm going to keep on doing this until Donald Trump is gone. And I mean gone to hell. And then I'm going to do it for about 30 years more. So don't you worry. Y'all take it easy. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal.